Hey everybody, welcome to the Combo Wombo podcast. I am your host, Mr. Gimpy, and as always, I'm here with the one, the only, the chipped monk. What's up, bro?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Doing all right,
Energetic, dude. You crushing it.
You gotta raise it. It's because I got the coffee, like I just took my first sip when I sat down.
We're out here just doing caffeine, man.
Just the legal drug everyone wants you to do, you know?
Yeah. People look at you sideways if you don't do coffee. They're like, what's going on? You got is this like for a religious reason? What's up?
Right. Can you imagine if like caffeine wasn't the drug of choice like across the world, right? Because you got it like naturally from like coffee beans and stuff, right? What if it was just straight pure just grade A cocaine? You know, like I know cocaine was an additive and stuff but prior, but what if it really took hold of the market, right? Before caffeine was.
Like cocoa leaves, like where you're all just like chewing cocoa leaves because it's you know. That's what a lot of people do in parts of the world where they're just like, this is because it doesn't have like it has like the caffeinated effects of the energy or whatever, but
right.
Yeah,
man. Like, can you imagine just
I
imagine people would be just like everyone would be more fit. You know what I mean? It's like I've never met a cokehead who's like not fit. You know what I mean? Like they could be super emaciated, sure, but like it's all
making things happen. Everyone will have a business deal for you.
It's like, hey, man, what's up? I gotta go run 6 miles. Like what? It's like, I just gotta do that real quick.
From now on, we're doing treadmill meetings. Come on, guys.
right?
Getting things done.
Oh yeah, man. But yeah, dude, this coffee really hitting the spot this morning, man. Well, afternoon as the time of recording, but it was morning a few minutes ago.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I had a holiday today, so I had the day off. So I'm just been just been relaxing. I don't even know which one this is. So.
It's President's Day. It's President's Day. Yes, I have the day off.
President Biden this time.
It's his day.
That's right, man.
Yeah, man. That's what it is.
People get upset if you just mention the president nowadays, dude. It's like
this
is just a fact.
We've actually been delisted and we're gone now because you mentioned it. You said anything political.
People got upset when I had like the I voted sticker. People were like, who'd you vote for? I'm like, and I was like, I'm just happy we live in a free country where we still can vote. Like, and they're like,
so then no matter who you're talking to, they assumed the opposite of who they voted for, so they got mad.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, if you have like people want to give you like their opinion about things now, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, it is such. I always go third party for it because I think everybody agrees that if you really talk to any reasonable adult, we'll all come to the same conclusion that corporate interests really are pushing the agenda and people aren't being represented. Like if you just look at like approval ratings where it's like everybody in the Senate and the Congress, they had like a 12% approval rating but a 98% re-election rating.
Right.
So I don't know, we're seeing this more and more, and that's the major problems with like trademark and copyright laws as well. It's basically a Mickey Mouse law at this point where they just keep pushing it back further and further.
Bro, that is a flip.
Well, just like if you just look at like how unreasonable like it's gotten, where it was like the original like patent laws, I think were like 20 years after the creation. Then they moved it to 30 years, then 70 years, and then Walt Disney, had Mickey Mouse. So they're like, what about if it was 30 years after the person dies? You got to let the kids make some money off that idea. And they're like,
insane?
Right.
They literally have, so you're right, 30 years after the person died.
No, then they push it to 70 now.
Right. But then with that, you have to refile, right, the copyright to claim it.
Yeah.
So, and you have like a 3-day period, and whoever files first gets it. So Disney, like when it was the 30 years, Disney literally had a team of lawyers sitting outside to literally hand a paper. Like that was their job.
They're ready.
They're just literally hand a paper saying, "Hey, we're filing this." So now that I believe you can do everything digitally now, right? So Disney's So what they've done is they used Mickey on other things too. So Steamboat Willie will be public domain
in a couple of years.
Yeah. In a couple of years, and they can't do anything about it. Like no one's going to push it to like 200 years after a person died. Like fuck off. But what Disney has done is they've used Mickey in other things that are also copyrighted, and saying, it's
This
like
is
that
infringing
plus
on the new ideas.
it's like that plus derivative works, and you can argue that it's infringing on new ideas. So such as like Fantasia, right? It's newer than Steamboat Willie, so that which
I think
also
they have like a
featuring
3D
can
Mickey Mouse
go over
cartoon
Yep.
characters.
They
got the video game Kingdom Hearts. They got
Yep. So they have so much works featuring that under the original copyright that they've argued successfully that we've produced these things with the copyright still in use, and much like Coca-Cola or other like historic like products that have come about before predating copyright. Predating current copyright law, I should say, that have maintained, because by all accounts, such things such as like Coke, Dr. Pepper, Sprite, all of those should actually be public domain if we went by the original rulings, and it's not, because they argue that it's still in use. So
and they even like branch off with like trademarks as well, and like you'll see this with like a lot of like corporate logos as well, where everyone's like, why did they change up the logo? Like, remember this used to be different. It's like, yeah, it was for trademark. I think like Coca-Cola, I think also owns the rights to like the color red. Yeah, no, the color red they use like
it's
in
a
their
specific
logo.
color red. Yeah.
And like Santa Claus as well. Yes. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like even if like you look up like bread for like sliced bread, I think there's like something like 3,000 patents on the ways to slice bread.
Yes.
Like it's ridiculous, dude. Like
balloons as well. Inflatable balloons have a bunch of patents and a bunch of claimants to it, just because of how the idea came about. It's like so. And see what's interesting is
a million ways to inflate a balloon.
Trademarking and just copyright in general, when it like the Thomas Edison days, Nikola Tesla days. If you were an inventor, it was basically the crypto of its time, right? It was, people figured it out as a get rich quick scheme. It's like you pull something out of your ass, you go register it, someone makes money off it, you sue the shit out of them, and you get all the money that someone else worked hard for. It still happens, but it's less. It's a lot harder now because people are really on top of copyright, but.
There's still like these weird black box organizations where all they do is like buy
copyright just random. They copyright random shit. They're like, oh yeah, we made this, and they just have some crude drawings going, yeah, this is what it is. And then when someone comes out with a real product, they're like, oh, that's our design. So Scuff, I believe, Scuff or PDP, their controllers with the paddles. The paddles they copyrighted actually. So what, like the Microsoft Elite controller, any controller with paddles on it, you have to give Scuff royalties for using paddles. The paddles are an amazing design. Nintendo actually, their specific D-pad was also patented, and that patent dropped off 5 years ago, right? So everyone could actually use Nintendo's D-pad design. Like, but the industry's evolved so much where no one's really using it. But these like Chinese knockoff machines or whatever, or Korean knockoff machines that are coming out are using Nintendo's D-pad now because the copyright fell off. So that I think that's interesting. But
Konami with the loading screen mini game, like the
loading screen that is still in effect actually. That's pretty crazy. So
damn you, Konami.
If you guys remember Konami's, like, you could play like a Galaga in the middle, or was that Namco? I can't remember which one of them, right? So you could play a Galaga when the game was loading. Like the Tekken, you could play like those games too when the game was loading. It was pretty cool. Midway actually was one of the first games to have Easter eggs, like in an arcade game, like hidden characters and stuff. But they didn't patent it because they said, we want other people to actually be able to do this because it makes games more interesting. So I thought that was interesting.
Like big head mode and everything else. With
big
head. The Mortal Kombat.
So they did patent. Remember their password system for like NFL Blitz and NBA Jam and shit. They actually patented that, where you have to put a password in for codes. But
I want to say that's like huge in Japan still for their arcades, where they have like cards and like
the card plus the password to lock it. Right?
Yeah, and like it'll track like your win loss and like whatever game you're playing.
It's pretty dope with Initial D though. Like I was never great at Initial D because whenever I went, there was always like one machine that worked and then the other one that was kind of jank. So
I played the Initial D machine that was like the physical machine where it like moves around.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Come on.
It's the old one at the mall, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one I played too. But they had that second one where it didn't move, and then they had the one next to it that was like jank, and you couldn't turn left all the way. It's fond memories of that. Like Initial D was fun, but I never really got into it to where I was like mastering all the drifts and stuff, you know. But we're getting. Let's see. So this episode, man, I just want to get some stuff off my chest.
Yeah, what's going on? What have you been up to, man?
So I will talk about Sifu in a second, but I just want to say, what the fuck is wrong with Nintendo, dude? For all of the goodwill they bring and that they give, on the flip side of it, they are the fucking worst. You know, there's a story, I don't know if it was rumor or not, but there's a story of Doug Bowser himself, the CEO of Nintendo of America, going to Venezuela and personally handing a 9-year-old kid a cease and desist notice. and then suing a kid for $25. You know, I'm pretty sure those are both rumors, but like it's not out of realm of possibility to be.
This
real,
sounds like a Super Nintendo thing to do. There.
Yeah. Also, when you hire, when you go from Reggie Fils-Aimé to Doug Bowser, when you're when your company has had a bad guy named Bowser for like 30, 40 years, and your new CEO's name is Bowser, like that can't be good, you know, for us the consumer. Like we as gamers and as the consumer, we are Mario and Luigi fighting against the power now, man. Right. So here's what pissed me off that I read.
It's been like a whole shift, right? They've shifted from games back to business.
Back to business, yes.
Yeah. Which is why I had that crazy Nintendo will make a car at least announce a car here like this year or next year, and then start building one. That's because they just seem like such a heartless business machine now, once again.
Yes. So here's what pissed me off. So, as I've stated on the podcast before, we've actually had an episode dedicated to this. Emulation and video game preservation is really high. Is really high on my list of things I want to do. Like I believe games are art, games are important, and games should be preserved for the future to know where this great entertainment medium came from. You know, movies have museums dedicated to great works of cinema.
You know, film restoration society.
You know, audio. You know, they have museums dedicated to great artists, great music. The fucking Smithsonian has you know stuff like people curating things of great American works. You know, of media that are important to like the history of our nation and then you know arguably the history of just human civilization, right? Like the Greeks did it. Congress. You know, things like that. Exactly. So I think that's a huge thing. And Nintendo, for better or worse, had one of the biggest parts of the success that gaming is now. But they are also straight up the worst at preservation because they hold on to all of their fucking properties and copyrights and things with an iron fist. And anyone
Can we also talk about like how they horribly repackage them as well? Like,
oh yeah, I'm getting to it. So right, like the original Mario Brothers is such a landmark game. Well, I'm sorry, not the original Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, the platformer, because you know we're not going to talk about the arcade game that was good, but you know it definitely wasn't the banger that you know Super Mario Brothers was. But the landmark platformer title that just skyrocketed gaming. That should be preserved in every single museum ever. And there are video game museums that have an original NES and the original Mario cartridge going, this is the top selling game. Well, I think Mario 3 is the top selling game of all time, right? Or maybe it's the bundle package, but Mario is
two,
at the gen.
It's either one or two.
Yeah,
it depends on like how you count and who's counting.
Yeah. So let's just say Super Mario Brothers is the best selling game of all time, right? And it was that culturally impactful. Like, you can't go anywhere without seeing Mario stuff, and everyone knows who Mario is. You could say the first Iconic. 3 notes of the theme song from the first level, and everyone knows what the fuck you're talking about. You know, if I go do 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 and then stop right there, people are like, like
hold on, man.
You know, yeah, exactly.
With the DMCA, dude.
But
they're like, you're infringing on our music,
right? So Nintendo had such a huge portion of video game history. They single-handedly saved the industry after Atari fucked everything up. So to have such a culturally significant part of video game history with the Nintendo, the Super NES, the N64, they advanced in terms of technology, but in terms of like third party support, they faltered. And then Sony they gave rise to Sony. But all of their properties and all their games are such an important part of history. But Nintendo does nothing to keep this alive. We had to
works against
fans forever had to fight for a new Kid Icarus or a re-release of Kid Icarus, and they've never done a physical re-release of any of these games. Before
we'll put them in Smash Bros.
Like,
see if it
how
sells.
long did we have to wait for Metroid 2 Samus Returns to come out and have either a re-release or something to get it off the Game Boy so we could play it easily? Like they go over and they just sue the shit out of everyone doing emulation, which, I get, right? You got to protect your copyright because you're getting it for free. But here's the thing. There's no other way to get this. There's no other way to get this, man. I can't go, hey, I really want to purchase, let's say I want to purchase Mario 2. Right, the original Japanese one. Where can I go to purchase it? Fucking nowhere. Like how about Mario All Stars re-release? Can I get that? Fucking nowhere. So there's no other way to do it besides emulation and ROMs.
It's also like one of those things where it's like it's fallen out of like marketplace. So it's like Nintendo wouldn't get any money on it anyway. It's such a weird place to be, right? Because they have to protect some of their IP, but also they're not actively making money on that IP anyway. And then they always go to making like a emulation where they package and sell all this stuff. But like they somehow seem to be getting worse at emulating their own hardware as well. Yeah, as time goes on. Whereas like you look at like the Nintendo 64 emulator where it has like fog issues and stuff with like the Legend of Zelda, whereas like the GameCube version where they had Zelda, the master,
the remaster,
edition. It was like perfect, worked great, and then somehow like 10 years later now it's like busted again.
yeah how do you get worse at emulating your own shit? It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
They had a glitch where it was like I think Star Fox where on the Nintendo Switch where it's like if you try to play Star Fox at 64 on your Switch, like it will erase all of your save. Dude, even worse. They had like some glitch in there. I'm not sure exactly how. Where it deleted all of your saves across all of your games on your Nintendo Switch. It's just like, oh man. But yeah, it's weird how they actively get worse at emulating their own hardware. But then they also don't put out like a full library of things. Where if like they had like the Nintendo Mini, where they're like, here's some of the games, and it's like great. But then everybody who's like started going in there is like, you're just using like an open source emulator,
an open source emulator with ROMs that someone else ripped. These ROMs is the other thing they found, and you curate like what was it, 50 games, right? Your that console had 742 games released in the US. Like the console's old enough where you could just give us all of that. Just give every rights holder just a piece of the pie at that point. The ones that still exist, give it a piece of the pie, and we would have like this great like preserved like emulation station. It would be, which I think is the emulator they use, right? It's like Mystical or something. But anyway, so. But yeah, man, like that just pisses me off that we have to fight one of the that's like and I'm speaking as someone in the US, right? So that's like us fighting George Washington. You know what I mean? Like the founding father, we're going to fucking fist fight him in the streets just for stuff. But that's what it's like fighting Nintendo, man. It's like, hey, you guys made all these great things that are part of my childhood. I just want to play them again. Fuck you. That'll be $60 and this shit's going to be emulated terribly. Like, I bought the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection, right? I was like, oh, hell yeah, Mario 64, Mario Galaxy, Mario Sunshine. They didn't let you alter or change your controls. The resolution, they didn't upscale the resolution or anything. I think they did with Mario 64, but, it was just still, like, there's very little work done, and it was just, like, they packaged a bunch of emulated games in and said, here you go. Just lazy, man. Like, yes, it was released for a budget price, but still, like, just lazy. And they've had more modern Super Mario 64 releases than the 3D All-Stars collection, which is insane.
And it's weird, too, because it's all first party as well, where it's like you want to put, like, the polish and shine on your own, like, properties. Like, it doesn't make sense to be like, yeah, we'll just throw out this, like, busted version of our game. Like, it's like, but why, though? And they're like, to appease the few, because people will buy it. I think it's the other problem is, like, they know, like, a certain amount of fans will buy it because they want to share this experience with like the new generation of gamers growing up.
My daughter loves those games. That's why I bought it. Yep.
And then it's also like it's so small where it's like it's noticeable, but like who can you even complain to aside from like, you know, into the abyss of the internet where it's like so they know they got you, man. What are you gonna do? Go open up a tech support ticket to like Nintendo, be like, "Hey, man, fix your game."
Send it to the void, where they send all of their tech support stuff. Yeah,
they're like, "Thanks, man."
That's true, man. That's true. But that's that. I just wanted to get that off my chest, man. Nintendo's really grinding my gears. You know, like that's preservation is something that should be taken seriously. I actually like. There's the Video Game Historical Foundation that is trying to do a lot of things. There's a couple of things where movies themselves will have like a master copy that's held under lock and key too, just for preservation purposes. And I think that games should too. Like we have too many games that people are losing code for. Like I forget, there was an arcade game where
like,
one guy just had a working copy in his garage.
that's what brought the game back.
Yeah.
I just saw a guy, a YouTuber who did that for like a Nintendo DS game of McDonald's. Like they made it out like a McDonald's like training game. That's like a little like it was fun, but it only came out in Japan. So he had to like find like a working copy, and then like that was like password protected. So he had to find somebody else. Like he has like a whole little YouTube journey about getting this damn Nintendo DS McDonald's training game and like unlocking and then uploading the ROM for everybody else to use.
Yeah, man.
But it took like years.
Yeah, I think the thing for me is, man, it's not even the fact that the older I get, the more I care about this. I think growing up and being in gaming, because you know how old we are. We grew up with video games. You know, like gaming has been growing with us. You know, we've seen all the highs and lows.
A perception, like public perception of
yes,
of gamers and games as well. Like
before you were like the perception was you were like a closet nerd who
you're a loser. Dude, you're not doing
and you're not out doing sports. You know, like that shit. Like right, like calm down, dad. You know what I mean? Just but you know the perception has changed. But you know,
degenerates, bunch of punks.
I think that, and you know, like celebrities are open about it. Henry Cavill famously goes, "I love video games. I love D&D." You know, he loves like what's traditionally nerd culture, but he actually has done a lot to normalize it within Hollywood. Because Hollywood goes, "Oh yeah, you fucking nerd, huh?" And then Henry Cavill's like, "No," and then he's like explaining to people how he fucking loves Warhammer. He's like, and he goes 40K, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this Warhammer." He's like, and he corrects me, he goes, "No, I play 40K. It's a different
completely
thing,
different game." Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's fucking dude knows what he's talking about. It's fucking dope, but. You know, with industry perception changing, things like that, I think that, you know, movies got it, music got it. We can do a lot to, you know, keep the history of it, because
even like when new genres like come up in like those things where like the old vanguard's like, oh, this is degenerate. See the kids, the youth, they don't know what they're doing, and then they're like, calm down, grandpa. It's called dancing.
Yeah, right. I mean, the rock and roll was tried to get banned, you know, like who the powers that be at the time literally goes, they like footloosed it, dude. You know, they're like, no rock and roll. Like, you can't ban a genre of music. You can't ban a genre of video games. You can't stop history. And and Nintendo needs to loosen the grip. Maybe have like a policy going, hey, this will be preserved for future, you know, somehow to do this. Like other companies aren't as like fucking, you know, gripping the balls of their own shit to do this. So, I don't know, man. This
is my conspiracy belief here with Nintendo is because they brought in like these business people. I think the old guard is covertly doing this because like we saw a huge ROM dump of a lot of classic N64 games, like full source code, like hit the web. We saw like a lot of like so I think like a lot of people who came up like in the 90s who internally worked at Nintendo like saw the powers that be, and they're like, oh, I don't like the way this is going. I need to get this out of here. Like this, like they have the same mentality as us. Is like they have so much like even like emotion and memories, like working on these games for like, you know, 30. Because like when you get into like Nintendo, you're there like the entire time.
Yeah, it's a life like, company for sure.
So you get in there at 20, and now you're like, you know, 50 years old, and like you see people in there like actively working to like destroy like your legacy of like what you and your friends did. You're like, I need to get this out of here. Like it's like the scene in Trouble. He's like breaking into like still the source code.
Yeah,
it's like this. They're like taking out like SD ROM dumps of like of their games and like they're putting them on the web. So
yes, sir.
I think that was like the first wake up call for a lot of us. Is like just seeing like a lot of stuff just out of nowhere hit the web, and they're like, "What happened? Was Nintendo hacked? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "I think this is just the change of guards. Like, I think the old guard is like." We gotta get this stuff out of here before like it's either deleted or like kept under lock and key or whatever else. Like so if you're working at one of these major companies, like subterfuge is always an option. Like, if it came out like 30, 40 years ago and like you happen to have worked on that and have access to it, like I think like you there's ways to put it out on the web, and most of us don't ask a lot of questions when things show up on like the hidden palace.
Even like shitty like preservation practices are just super prevalent. The Ninja Gaiden Master Collection that came out, it was based off of the Sigma versions of Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2. And that's because they straight up lost the source code for fucking the original Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden Black. How in this day and age are you losing source code? But they're like, no, it was on a computer and we fucking deleted it. Like, fuck you, dude. Like,
hey man, they deleted the original data for the moon landing on the moon.
Oh yeah, I know. It's insane, dude. And maybe I'm too emotional about it. Maybe I'm too like emotionally invested in it. But I think I don't know, man. It just saddens me. Like one of my favorite stories of preservation is due to Pixar. The original Toy Story was deleted off of Pixar's master servers, and someone who was on maternity leave actually brought a copy home to work on it while she was on maternity leave, and they literally fucking like had a crack team of people like go get the hard drive, like cart it back under like just lock and key, and no, it was like the whole computer, and they had to have a battery backup just to do it, because if she would have powered it off, she would have lost everything. So
she's like, I'm still working on those files right now. They're like, what? Hold on, don't shut off your computer.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's the original Toy Story was Toy Story 2 is one of them, but it's an insane story where I was just like, yes, like a Toy Story. Like I think 1, 2, and 3 are literally in the National Library of Congress now as a trilogy going. And, like, can you imagine if we would have not had Toy Story like 1 or 2? Like in terms of children's movies and animated features, like they were really such groundbreaking movies.
Change the zeitgeist too about like what was possible like in 3D space, because like up until that point, like if you look at like cutscenes that were coming out from video games, we're like, this is like a movie now, dude. Like this is a full movie, and it looks better than any cutscene out there.
So a lot of games stories now are better than movie stories that are coming out, man. And part of it is because you are doing these actions that are creating this. You're in the event, you're in the movie. So
we talked about this last podcast where it's like video game difficulty, where it's like that's just like another brush to move the plot forward, and like you can do that with like story, you can do that with like just interactivity with like the subject matter as well, and it's like it's its own unique medium where like there's nothing else like that out there, and it definitely deserves like somebody, and it's not going to be these companies, like we see that now, like, and I don't know if like some government out there is going to have to like step up and be like, hey, we're going to allow preservation of these things on like servers that we control or something. And it doesn't have to be, like the US, it could be Japan, it could be like Australia, it could be like, some government body out there.
I would not give it to the EU, because they always have like these, like historically they've had these horrible like censorship
Costa
rules.
Costa Rica is going to step up.
Right. There we go.
And then like, what are you going to do? We're a whole island nation, dude.
Yeah, right.
You can't stop us.
But yeah, man,
And then once a year, all the gamers from around the world will have to go there to play Tekken. Because it'll be banned everywhere else.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to just mention that, just because I was reading that shit over the weekend, and I was just like, what the fuck is Nintendo doing, man? I don't know, man. You got anything? Because we're free talking here, everybody. We're just getting stuff off our chest. We're just chilling, and you guys are along for the ride, and I hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
So what's going on with you, Chip?
It's a problems above both of our pay grades, man. So you're still looking forward to getting your Steam Deck? Is that?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So
I know you pre-ordered it and then got pushed back there. I think it was supposed to be out in like December or something.
Yeah, the Steam Deck. I
I know
truly
my brother
believe.
also ordered
Yeah,
it, and he was like pretty excited about it. He's like, I'm getting this Steam Deck. And I was just like,
yeah.
ah.
Dude, I honestly feel that we are sitting on the precipice of the advancement of PC gaming with the Steam Deck. Um, I believe that it's going to be huge and mark a point in history where
Paradigm shift.
PC gaming is purely mainstream now. Like yes, like hyper hardcore adoptists like me will get it first, but people will see us doing it. People will see us playing games that are predominantly PC only in our hands.
Yeah, they'll be
There's a
like, what game
dock
is
where we can
that?
play it with. Yeah, exactly. Um, I think it's incredible. It's also advancing Linux gaming as well.
Yeah,
Now that to be Steam Deck certified, you have to have your anti cheat stuff working,
big.
and Valve worked with Easy Anti Cheat and another cheating software company that does things to have compatibility layers. So
Yeah, and I know
games
they've
that
had like issues with that with like a lot of indie game dev, where like they're
yes,
not necessarily putting that like really on Front Street for like their net
yes,
code. So it's like if you accidentally use like an old layer of like their net code, it's like, oh yeah, it's
it's
a
just
huge
not going to work.
vulnerability.
Yeah,
Like,
but yeah. So and they provided two versions of the anti-cheat like compatibility layer.
yeah,
There's some work for developers to do for sure, but I think just the expanding market and the Steam Deck, it's sold out. So you'd be an idiot not to at least try to get compatibility for your game. So I really think that this is a moment, man. This is gonna be a moment in history where we will look back and go when we're in the future and we all have like handheld like PC gaming and it's normal. And we'll go, do you remember when?
would you put a contact lens in your eyeball that like gave you like a screen, like a video game screen that gave you like a
I
I
mean, I
don't
already
know,
play VR, dude. So yeah,
yeah, but like right into your eyeball. Would you put like
yeah,
a
contact lens.
VR, like a
Yeah.
like we'll say like 720p.
Well, that's way too low of a resolution, but
Yeah, but
yeah,
you
I
know,
would do
it's
some.
in your eyeball though.
If you could give me the resolution of my field of and my natural field of vision, and you could display something on that, I 100% would.
It's like looking through a pair of binoculars though.
The experience might not be great, so probably not. But I think
You
I
try it
think you
out,
could.
you know.
Yeah, try it out. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if I trust jamming some electronics in my eye yet.
Let me ask you a question though.
All right.
You use a cell phone, right?
Yeah, barely.
Yeah. Do you use Bluetooth?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like
I
do you
got a
use
Bluetooth
headset? You're
speaker
jamming that
in the
shit in your ear.
shower.
You got a Bluetooth speaker. Yeah, man. There's technology advances. Technology will make it easier for
I'm
us.
living on a
Technology will
tightrope, bro. Like that
technology
speaker
will
could tip over
clip
and
everything
end me
in.
any moment. And I'm worried
Yeah,
about
man.
jamming things in my eye while I'm listening to jams in the shower.
Right, right. I think we'll be good though. I think that we're gonna be living the cyberpunk life, and I think it'll be okay.
All right.
As long as Facebook is not at the forefront of it, because they're gonna steal all their information immediately.
I mean, you know, it's what they already do. I mean, so does every major corporation at this point. Like, if you're not paying for it,
I
you are
think
the product.
what's the craziest thing is the eye tracking within the Quest. Like the Quest 3 will probably have eye tracking, so
They do mouse tracking, bro.
they
You
will
go to websites, they're
yeah.
tracking your mouse, where your mouse is looking.
Right, but they like doing where your eyes are looking for like targeted advertisements and stuff. That's going to be huge. So
They already do that with like major installations at like stores and stuff. So if you're at a store and you see like signage where it's like a rotating ad,
mhm.
a lot of those will have like a little sensor on the bottom, and that's tracking eyeballs to see like what ads are getting eyes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so
Yeah,
they're
man.
already doing it like in
Big
the
brother,
real world.
dude. Big
Uh,
brother.
I mean, it's just, and I'm not even necessarily against. I think like the dystopian view is always like things are going to be awful, but I would say like in most dystopian movies, always the protagonist is the only one with the problem with everything. Everybody else is
Yeah.
really happy.
Yeah.
Everyone's like just a drone taking whatever like neurotonic that makes them feel like amazing. Then they're like, yeah, you know, I march here, I listen to like the Wall of Hate for an hour, and then I go about my day. Then yeah, live my best life after that. And they're like, but you can't read old books. And they're like, yeah, but whatever. You know, I feel good about things. you know, and then the protagonist is like, this is an injustice, and then they like destroy society, and everybody's on the street like dying and like getting burned, and they're like, finally, we brought back
like Equilibrium, where they banned all forms of art, and Christian Bale found some art.
The gun kata, like, dude.
Yeah, man, that's our future, man. You guys better start training.
Training the nunchaku and gun kata.
Exactly. But yeah, dude, I think the Steam Deck will be huge.
It won't lead to our dystopian future.
It's part of it. If you can use VR from a handheld, like PC VR from a handheld, that'd be absolutely huge and completely insane. I think that'd be super cool. Like, yes, we have the Quest as well, but to have the clarity and resolution of like the Valve Index or whatever off of your, you know, the handheld device, I think that'd be fucking crazy.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. I know like they have like some ports on there as well, so maybe there'll be some way to get some USBs or some HDMI's in or out of that.
Yeah, for sure.
To some sort of maybe lesser headset or something else, like a projector,
right?
Anything, man. Like you just imagine a world with a mini projector on your handheld console. Or like, you know, some Bluetooth thing that goes into your eyeball. Like, just put it like I just can't get over it. Like, it seems close. That's why I'm worried about it. It seems like we're like. Within the next 7-8 years, we're gonna have some sort of.
We've already had smart glasses and stuff too, man. Like it's already happened.
It never takes off, man. Is it just like mass adoption problem, or is it just
cost? It's cost.
It's cost. It's hardware.
And there's no, like you have to sell people on it. Like, what can it do that will improve my life? You know. Yeah. Nothing really. Like if I can watch like Netflix through it while still looking at you, you know. Like do
you use like a smartwatch at all?
No.
Yeah,
I rarely wear a watch. I have one watch that I own that I wear every now and then.
I got the same problem with like the smartwatches, like with the fitness and everything else, where it's like it'll help you, it'll track your heartbeat, blah blah blah. I'm like,
so does your phone.
I'm like, I can just use my phone for all that. Like it just doesn't. They'd be like, you can have a conversation. And I'm like, I can have a webcam. I have like a camera on the front of my phone. Like, this doesn't seem as fun as like this. Like,
yeah. Although it is cool being James Bond, you know.
Yeah, Dick Tracy. If you're even older, if you're
true. I don't know, man. I think the technology's there for the people who want it, but and I'd like to think I'm pretty progressive with my technology adoption and stuff, but I'm not. I'm kind of an old man at that. I'm like, this works good enough. You know, it took me a while to get a smartphone for the first thing. You know, so.
I was still using a flip phone up until like a couple of years ago.
Really, that's insane. Yeah, no, I got the smartphone industry there, but for a while I was like, this is all dumb. You know, it's like I have an MP3 player. Why do I need a phone to do it too? Then I realized, it's way more convenient. You know?
Yeah, for me, I was just like. I always felt like the smartphone was like a way inferior computer. So I was like, why would I want to use an inferior computer that's going to distract me from life? So I'd rather just have a flip phone that gives me the functions of a phone. And then use a way more advanced version of that interface, like when I get home or at work. So like, if I want to talk to you, like I got Discord. I got like, a million different apps on my PC where I can talk to people and send them text messages with a keyboard, where that's way more efficient than like being like this on using my thumbs to type.
You'd think, but then people who have grown up with the touchscreens and stuff, they're ridiculous at it, man. It's like us on the keyboard, like knowing how autofill works, and then just knowing where you don't I don't have to look at my cell phone screen to know where the letters are when I text. I'm like, and the people who've grown up with this and that's all they know, like they're probably way better than I am at it. So I think we're discounting like ease of use, because if you look at, do you remember like back in the day having your parent try out a video game? Like one of the things is for our generation is probably like your parent trying Mario and playing with you, right?
Try this out,
and they wouldn't hold B to run, and you'd
the most
lose
infuriating thing in the world.
It's exactly the same thing, man. Like I'm sure kids are on their phones and they're like, "What are you doing? We're not using autofill. What are you retard?" You know, and it's like, "Whoa, kid, don't be the pause there. Don't take my social my social being there and just put it through the ringer." But I don't know, man. I think we're at a point where technology's advancement is inevitable, and you just find something to latch onto, man, and go
Are we
with it.
coming to the video game singularity where everything's going to be like just streamed or on one device? Because
No.
I think with the PCs getting now like a basically with the Steam Deck, where you have access to like your entire library,
Hmm.
uh, and I think we talked about this. I think before the podcast, where like they are starting to like go back and ban. Talk about dystopia, where like they're like, oh, this
Yeah.
game is too hardcore, so we're cutting out the DLC, or like it's possibly pornographic with some of these dating games that are on there. So we're
Yes.
destroying like some art from our library, and you can't access it, you can't download it, even if you bought it and own it,
Yeah.
or
So
you
what
can't
Chip is
use it.
what Chip is alluding to is those of you who have purchased
Did you freeze
Agony.
up? They heard us, dude.
No,
No.
no, no, no. I'm here.
Well, my modem went out there for a second.
We had
The
some
fans
technical
dying.
difficulties.
Technical difficulties. Yeah, we're talking about like how you really don't own anything right now, like especially with like Steam and like these other major corporations where there's now a clear ownership line. So you can have video games just be deleted or removed from your library, and you have no real say in it. And it's at whatever whims that the corporation feels.
Yeah.
That they're about protecting like their bottom line as well. So
Like PT on the PlayStation Store, the Silent Hills demo that just was removed because they weren't doing the game, but the demo was amazing. Like,
yeah,
that's gone, and thankfully people saved it on their hard drives. And we have a remake of it on online as well, so there's ways to play it now. But yeah, Agony got the unrated version got delisted from Steam and removed from people's libraries, and with no explanation as to why. Some
yeah.
think that it was because Valve is retooling how their like unrated portion is curated, and Agony wasn't meeting those requirements. Who knows? Who knows?
And
But
it could have even been the developer as well, right? Like
true,
without transparency, like the developer could have pulled them and be like, "This is a way to get more PR for my game." I was going to pull
true.
it and be like, "They don't want you to see this. It's so hot, so heavy. Come get on my Patreon. You got to support me from the. You never know. It could be a marketing situation as well.
True.
But the reality is like these like Steam, Nintendo, every major gaming company can just pull stuff. And they don't have to give you a rhyme or reason, even with like your music library. There's no
Yeah.
real like you're basically just renting a digital locker, and like
Yep.
ownership is very murky at best. Like
That
I think we're going to see like a lot of weird digital rights come in to like legal battles here in the future, especially with like people passing on and stuff. It's like maybe I want to give like my digital library of games to somebody else, and I'm like, nah, bro, you take that
Yeah.
with you to the grave.
So one thing, that's why I prefer to buy my games on physical media, because outside of me losing the physical media, I'll always have it. It's tough because with PC gaming, they don't release anything physically anymore, and if they do, it's very limited. Or if it's a special event, everything's only available on online marketplaces. People are pushing for consoles to do that. The thing
You're
is,
like Yu-Gi-Oh over there, bro.
what do
An
you mean?
Egyptian pharaoh, dude. You got like all these games that you're going to be buried with.
Oh yeah.
You're king of duelists, bro. You're like, yeah,
Yeah,
bury me
man.
with all these games.
Right. But but the thing is, PC gaming was never really a big part of stores' electronic sections. Console gaming is huge. It
Yeah.
single-handedly drives a lot of the electronic sections of stores, of big box stores like department stores, Target, Walmart. Games do huge business there, and that is one of the fights that people are dealing with. It's like, yes, there's a digital marketplace for it, but big box stores will have these same games, and that's part of the reason why we don't see the same sale on digital versus physical media, because physical media, that gets you out of your car, out of your seats, into the store to buy not only that game, but you're also probably going to buy like snacks or something, raise profits there. So there's an uphill battle, and I
It
think
also it's weird as well for end users as well. Like if you break the terms of service, like the TOS,
yes,
like in one game, like you could get banned on that entire device, right? So like if you're like
yes,
on Microsoft and like you do some cheating in your whatever game, like you might be an aim hacker in your CODs, all of a
yeah,
sudden you lose complete access to all of your game library that you own. Like,
yeah,
but you're like, I
yeah.
only broke the rules on one game, and it's like not even,
I
you
forget
know,
what was that. Was that a Microsoft product? Was it that where if you cheated, you just lost your whole thing? Can't remember. That's yeah, it's insane.
it
Well,
just it's across everything though, right? Like so if you got cheating on Steam, you're gonna lose your whole Steam library
you still have it. You
potentially.
just have like the VAC bans, right?
Yeah, so
Like,
it's like any game that
yeah,
uses online.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, and like every place has different rules as well, and like how they handle different things for people breaking the terms of service. So it's
yeah.
weird. It's the walled garden experience, but
It's weird. Yeah, I do think digital needs to have some sort of like there's some issues with purchasing things digitally, right? What if the game sucks ass? You know, like refund policy used to be terrible. It's better now, but I still think certain games like oh yeah, you can play for less than 2 hours or like or 2 weeks, whichever it hits, you can still refund it. I don't think 2 hours is enough to decide if you like a game or not. But then
how
then
much
again,
of a game do you get to play before you're like, yeah, it's like let's say you beat the game and you're like, this game kind of sucked. I do not have enjoyment from this
yeah, it's true.
game.
I know that's the other thing. So I think
Like, do you
like
deserve to have your money back if you hated a
yeah,
game?
yeah. I think that developers, like a way around it would be for the developers to one release demos again. Demos were a great meter of if you're going to buy the game or not, right?
Yeah.
We don't have like demos are gone for the most part. The other thing, maybe programming something like a stopgap in there, going, hey, if you get past this point of the game, you'll not be able to refund it, and just like a little blurb
Are
going
you
up.
it's like, are you sure you want to proceed?
Yes, yes,
You've
something like
used up
that.
the free sauce. Do you want to pay
Yeah,
money?
because certain short games that you can beat with like in an hour or something, people have just gamed the system and are just refunding it after they beat it, which is shitty as hell. So I think having
Yeah.
some sort of protection like that would be interesting. But yeah, that's the digital rights thing because you can't really return games to stores. It's like you opened it, yeah, I'm not taking that back. Like
Yeah.
no
It's
matter
like
who you are,
it
GameStop.
seems like
I bought this game for $60. Here's $3.
it's it's one of the things that have come out of like Cyberpunk is all the lawsuits with retailers and game stores where they're like, hey man, you have to take back games now in some places.
Yeah,
Like, so it's I don't it needed legal action and like lawmakers to make a move to like start getting consumer rights back to us. Like it's an uphill battle. Like it's all this stuff's so new that uh,
yeah,
the rules aren't in place, and there's definitely a lot of abuses from the systems. I'd say by like in a fair metric, they're more on the side of good than evil most of
yeah,
the time, like these companies. But uh, uh, but I would also say like there's a lot of automation as well because like it's an impossible task to scale up. So like you just see people who are like, hey, I lost everything and there's no way to appeal this through the system. And like they're just hitting like that first layer of bots where they're just like, yeah, uh, this account's been banned. You can't do anything about it. It's like, I didn't do anything though. And they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. You're banned.
yeah. Well, it's hard to justify like consumer roles for cheaters, right? It's like you guys are jackasses anyway. I don't know, man. It's a slippery slope, and it's not for me to figure out. um, so
Much
we're
like the lawmakers and everything else. It's like,
right.
this is just us noticing the problems. I'm like,
Yeah. So we're near the end here. Do you have any final thoughts on any of the topics we discussed today? The preservation issue, the Steam Deck, or what we just spoke about, the rights issues and digital.
uh, I mean, it's it's weird. I don't know. I'm not going to be a person who's like, you got to go out there and do something. You got to like, rock the vote.
That's the
like,
main thing is just be aware, right?
yeah, I would try and have more awareness of things that are going on, especially with things with copyright, trademark, things with the end user agreements, like how a lot of these major companies are stealing a lot of our information. There's nothing we could really do about it. Uh, but like you can choose to opt out of like those services as well. Like if there's a bad player in the market, like that's why I don't actively use, the Facebook. Like, even though I'm gonna end up caving here because I want to use the Oculus, so I'm gonna make like an account for it. But even that,
they've softened that. The EU said you can't do this. So
again, lawmakers have to like step in.
Yeah.
Any thoughts for you, man?
And I think we covered pretty much everything. One of the things of your a harbinger of dooming for technology that goes on the person or in the eye, once you start doing like bodily stuff, like entities have to get in anywhere. There's currently studies going on VRs for
anything that goes in an orifice.
You have the weighted headset, so it's like puts pressure on like your neck and your spinal column and stuff like that. That's not apparent. So people have said it's almost the same as like a welder's mask of wearing a headset. So there might be some new design things to help support your head or new balancing acts for the weight that you're adding. So
it's a whole medieval suit of armor you have to put on.
So I think that's something that's kind of interesting. The real world crossing with gaming, that I think is something to look to in the future. As far as like the Nintendo thing, I just want video game preservation to be the norm. I don't want people to have to go out and search for the game they loved as a kid that they can't find
the
anymore,
high seas.
Or waving the flag in the high seas for sure. Let's see, the Steam Deck I'm excited for. Once I have the new one in my hands and I play it for a while, I'll definitely let everyone on the pod know how I like it or what I don't like about it. I'll be super honest. It won't be it'll just be like, hey, I have this. We don't do reviews, let's be honest. So
we give just like how we felt or what our experiences were.
And
I thought about doing
oh shit, Chip's gone.
Reviews at one point. I think my internet died again.
Yeah, you're frozen. That's all right. I'll finish it up if you can hear me, Chip.
My net died.
No, your videos died, but your audio's still there. Just keep talking, man. You're back. He's gone. I don't think he can hear me. All right, on that note, guys, we're just gonna have Chip be there confused. So I did mention that I would talk about Sifu again. I beat it, got the true ending as well. Fantastic game. I think that difficult games have a place, and I'm excited for the next thing that Slow Clap does. So for Chipped Monk, I'm Mr. Gimpy. Chip's internet died, and it's in a weird thing where it's half on. He can't hear me, so we'll leave it at that. For Chipped Monk, I'm Mr. Gimpy. This has been the Combo Wombo podcast, the most technical difficulty podcast we've ever had, but that's the internet for you. Take care, everybody. We're out of here.